Not a good thing. Do you agree?
Very prognostic.
I would say the ceasefire is on massive life support, where the doctor walks in and says, "Sir, your loved one has approximately a 1% chance of living."
Stop scrolling right now. You are looking at the exact moment the president officially declared the peace deal practically dead on arrival. The rhetoric just hit maximum severity, and the panic is very real.
It's unbelievably weak, I would say. I would call it the weakest right now. After reading that piece of garbage they sent us, I didn't even finish reading it. They said, I'm not going to waste my time reading it. I would say it's one of the weakest right now. It's on life support. They understand. These are all medical people. Dr. Oz, life support.
Wait, did you catch the absolute contempt in his voice right there? He didn't just reject the diplomatic proposal. He completely dismantled it on public television. Calling an international ceasefire agreement a piece of garbage is a massive, calculated escalation. He is deliberately trying to humiliate the other side to see if they will break. Look at the casual delivery. He's standing there dismissing high-stakes negotiations like he's reviewing a bad restaurant menu. It's a pure dominance play. By refusing to even read the full document, he's signaling to his base that the U.S. is holding all the leverage and isn't going to humor any demands. But think about the psychological game being played here. When you publicly trash an adversary's counteroffer this aggressively, you completely remove any diplomatic off-ramp. You are essentially daring them to escalate. It's absolute brinkmanship. He knows exactly what he's doing, and he's using this raw, unfiltered rhetoric to box the opposition into a corner. The question is, how do you even return to the negotiating table after an insult of this magnitude?
I think we hit a wall on deal making. I would encourage the president to look at reducing Iran's military capability even further. They've been dramatically weakened, but they're still targets that could weaken them more militarily. And I would also keep the embargo on to weaken their economy. Right now, I think they're trying to wait us out. I think they're playing games. And in the words of the president, I think they're crazy. I think he's right.
Now, the president just got back from his...
Look at the absolute intensity coming from Senator Graham right here. He is not mincing words. He is straight up going on national television and openly lobbying the commander-in-chief to restart a massive military campaign. Notice the specific phrasing he uses. Hit a wall on deal making. That is Washington code for diplomacy is officially over. He is intentionally laying the groundwork to completely justify a new wave of physical strikes. And did you hear how he referred to the opposition? Calling them crazy on a live broadcast isn't an accident. It's a strategic psychological tactic designed to completely dehumanize the adversary and manufacture public consent for aggressive action. If you convince the public that you are negotiating with irrational actors, then military force suddenly looks like the only logical option. He's basically giving the administration a blank check for escalation. It is fascinating to watch the political gears turn in real time as they shift the narrative from peace talks right back into a war footing. The rhetoric is getting incredibly dark, incredibly fast.
With the latest there. Ashley?
Yeah, good evening to you, Rich. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu talking with President Trump earlier today for about 30 minutes. We don't have all the details, but as you pointed out, the president posting on Truth Social that the clock is ticking and the time is of the essence. It's the same line of statements that we've heard for a number of weeks now. Benjamin Netanyahu calling a meeting of the security cabinet, his security cabinet, but that was ordered before he spoke with President Trump, so clearly trying to get a sense of where do they go next, and that is the big question. We do have reports that say the U.S. and Israel are undergoing the most intense preparations for these renewed attacks against Iran since the ceasefire was agreed last month.
Hold up. Pay very close attention to what this reporter just casually dropped at the very end of his segment. The most intense preparations for renewed attacks. That is a massive bombshell statement casually disguised as a standard news update. You have the Prime Minister calling an emergency security cabinet meeting right before getting on the phone with the president. That timeline is incredibly revealing. It shows that the wheels are already in motion, and they are purely coordinating the logistics of what comes next. Notice how the reporter mentions the ticking clock rhetoric. That isn't just an empty threat. It is a highly coordinated pressure campaign designed to rattle the global markets and force the adversary into a panic mistake. When you have top-tier media networks confirming that joint strike preparations are at their most intense levels since the initial conflict, you are looking at the final stages of a countdown. They are purposefully leaking this intelligence to the press to maximize psychological pressure. It's a complete masterclass in geopolitical tension building.
Matter of fact, there is no military solution to anything related to Iran. They have tested us times and again. We never bow to any pressure or threat, and we resist against any aggression, against any pressure. We also resist against any sanction. For more than 40 years, my country has been the target, our people actually have been the target of brutal sanctions imposed by the United States against us. But it didn't change our determination. It didn't change our policy.
Check out the completely unbothered posture of the foreign minister here. This is a masterclass in projecting institutional defiance. He is staring straight into the camera, knowing full well that an entire military apparatus is pointing right at his country, and he refuses to flinch. Listen to the absolute finality in his tone when he says there is no military solution. He isn't trying to negotiate. He is drawing a permanent line in the sand. Notice how he intentionally brings up the 40 years of brutal sanctions. That is a deeply calculated move. He is directly reminding the U.S. that maximum economic pressure has fundamentally failed to break their resolve in the past, basically daring them to try it again. It is a massive flex of endurance. By framing his nation as an immovable object, he is actively trying to demoralize the American public and the bond markets, signaling that this will be a slow, grueling, endless conflict. He knows exactly how to weaponize the concept of attrition, and he's using it as a psychological shield.
Prospect stalls. Good afternoon, I'm Rich Edson in Washington, and this is Fox News Live.
Wait, did you catch the sheer scale of the operation they just described? The Navy redirecting 81 commercial vessels and completely disabling 4 others in the Strait of Hormuz is an absolute logistical chokehold. This isn't just a simple patrol. This is a full-blown, coordinated economic blockade happening right out in the open water. Think about the massive geopolitical weight of that move. The Strait of Hormuz is the main artery for global energy, and the military is essentially treating it like a heavily guarded toll booth. Notice the completely calm, sanitized tone the anchor uses to describe what is effectively modern economic warfare. They use words like pressure campaign to make it sound clinical, but on the ground, this is a massive escalation of force. By shutting down that specific shipping corridor, they are actively trying to starve the opposing economy into total submission without firing a single missile. It is a brilliant, ruthless display of naval dominance designed to slowly crush the adversary's financial infrastructure.
He just got back from his trip to China, which he called a great success. We have Fox team coverage of it all. Alex Holding standing by at the White House. But first, Fox business correspondent Ashley Webster is reporting live.
Just look at how flawlessly the media machine pivots from one geopolitical crisis to the next. The anchor completely brushes past the massive implications of the military blockade and immediately jumps into the president's trip to China, calling it a great success. It's a very subtle but incredibly effective narrative reset. They are deliberately compartmentalizing the chaos in the Middle East away from the supposed diplomatic victories happening in Asia. Notice the very clean, professional handoff to the reporter in Tel Aviv. It is highly produced television designed to keep the viewer entirely hooked on a continuous feed of high-stakes updates without giving them a single second to process the massive gravity of what was just said. This kind of rapid-fire broadcasting is exactly how you normalize extreme geopolitical tension. By treating an impending military strike and a foreign policy tour with the exact same level of urgency, the network flattens the emotional impact. It is a fascinating look at how the modern news cycle processes global instability. This entire situation is escalating by the minute. Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next breakdown.